You are listening to the Will Power Podcast. Welcome to the show. I am Will Holdren, and I talk with some of the most influential CEOs, entrepreneurial leaders, and thought leaders to reveal the secrets that have led to their success. I believe that with the right knowledge and mindset, you can do anything you say your mind to. So if you want to learn how to change your life for the better, if you want to learn how millionaires actually became wealthy, or if you want to develop and start your own business from the ground up with the right knowledge to help you, then you are in the right place because this is the Willpower Podcast. How are we doing, everyone? My name is Will Holdren. I am the host of the Willpower Podcast. Today we have an awesome, influential entrepreneur based out of the California marketplace, and his name is Corpodian. And Corey is the CEO and owner of a company called Unleash Success, where he helps leaders unlock mental toughness and also power up communications through podcasts and by getting on stages to go out there and share stories. And on top of that, he himself has interviewed hundreds of entrepreneurs and has grown his personal YouTube channel to well over 100,000 subscribers, which is an incredible accomplishment. So with that being said, first and foremost, Corey, thank you so much for joining me today.
Will, thanks for having me on the show, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. You obviously have a pretty incredible background. It sounds like you help a lot of people and you know how to really grow a brand. So I'm really looking forward to diving into those topics here today. But starting out, I want to ask you a question I ask all my guests, which is one, what makes you want to take time in your busy day to hop on podcasts like these to go out there and share your story?
Uh, like most people who start off in entrepreneurship, we start off to serve ourselves, right? So we want more freedom, time, money in life, right? We want to enjoy our life more. But what happens is after you achieve a certain amount of success, you realize, huh, is this all there is? And I'll never forget, I was standing on the deck of my beach house that I bought back in 2015. And it was this huge goal that I had. And I could see this little, sliver of the ocean. And I wanted to call my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, my, mom or dad or sisters, just to share it with somebody. And what happened was nobody answered. And it was kind of at that moment I realized, life and the successes of life and the goals that we accomplish are really only worth it if we're able to share it with other people. So, most people, if you haven't achieved your success in life, keep grinding, keep working, accomplish it first, do it yourself first. Because once you do it yourself, you'll realize that you do want to share it with other people. And so, one of the big things and purposes in my life was, I know I'm going to be successful if I just grind and work and do this the way I need to do it. But I realized how much more success I felt, how much more fulfillment I felt, and overall happiness when I started sharing these tools and methods with other people. And it sounds corny, but really, I mean, it serves me as much as it serves somebody else, right? Like if I'm helping you grow your business, that shit gets me excited. I love growing businesses. If I'm talking about growing a business, I love to get in the nuts and bolts of it, talk to you about it, how we speak on stages, how we speak on podcasts, how we grow brands. So these are things that, I mean, they serve me just as much as they help other people.
Yeah. Well, I love that mission, and it's definitely more about the money at the end of the day. Like you talked about, it's about legacy and bringing people up with you so you can share your success with them. So I love that. You got a great mission behind what you're doing. So walk me through kind of your come up. How did you get into entrepreneurship to begin with? And more specifically, you are in a pretty unique niche where it's more about, helping people build a brand, helping people just to elevate their minds, mental toughness, helping entrepreneurs grow. I mean, I think that's pretty, niche specific. So what caused you to get into that realm instead of like real estate investing per se?
Right. So I started out with a blueprint for success that, like most people, was given to me by my parents, right? So that blueprint said, in order to be successful, you need to go to college and then you need to go on to become a doctor or a lawyer. So I followed that blueprint to success and I became an orthodontist. Well, at 26 years old, after going through 4 years of dental school and 3 years of residency, I finished as a board certified orthodontist. And I thought to myself, after working for an entire year, is this all there is? Like, there's got to be more to life than this. And that's part of my journey. But I probably would never actually change anything if I hadn't walked into the doctor's office one day and went to see a dermatologist, hadn't been to one in 10 years, had a small mole on my chest, wanted them to check it out. Obviously, I've been through anatomy, so I knew something was going on. They take a biopsy, comes back, it's skin cancer. melanoma, which happens to be the most aggressive. Now, at the time, I was competing in a men's physique championship. This is over 10 years ago. And, I was about to go pro. And this was kind of a side hustle passion that I was just doing on the side of being an orthodontist and running my practices. And all of a sudden, that shook me. And they said, if you wait 6 months, you lose half your chest. If you wait a year, you might not even be here. That moment, or what I like to call memento mori, right? Which is remember that one day you will die. See, sometimes we're running around like we're not afraid that we're ever going to die because we just have so much life to give, but we're not really living. And it was at that moment that I dove into personal development. And from there, my entire life started to change. I took the same habits that I applied to sports, that I applied to working out, that I applied to school and business, and I applied it to my own mental toughness. And that's how, like, I think there's a lot of people out there that like to talk a big talk, but haven't walked the walk, right? If you are gonna do it and then talk about it, you gotta be about it. And I think a lot of people fail to hit that message. So for me, I spent many years just working on myself, just practicing these mental exercises. And I call it emotional fitness now. I didn't call it that in the beginning, but over time, so many people kept asking me, what did you do differently? See, I read the books you read, is what they would say. I went to the seminars. I did exactly what you did, but I didn't get the same results. I doubled my income in 6 months. I bought that dream $1 million beach house, and I met my now wife. My entire life changed because I started changing daily habits. And that's one of the pillars of emotional fitness is you got to be able to change yourself in a moment, in an instant, what you're focusing on. A lot of times we focus on what's wrong because that's what nature intended us to help us survive. But it's really hard to be successful if you're always focused on what could go wrong. You got to focus on what can go right. So these little habits, these little moments, if you can build on those tiny moments and multiply those, now you become more emotionally fit. You build strong habits and eventually it becomes who you are. So I started to evolve in my own business. And one of the ways that I decided to reach more people, I started doing coaching. I was like, you know what? I spent years working on myself. Things are going pretty good. I kind of want to help some people. What could I do? Coaching, right? Like that was kind of, it's still big. Back then, 10 years ago, it was really big. And I was like, well, I'm having 100 conversations that are exactly the same, and it's taking 100 hours. And then a friend of mine saw what I was doing, saw the success I had, and was like, hey, why don't you come speak on stage at one of these small events? And that kind of got me thinking, wow, I did that. And then I started doing more talks on stage. And then I listen to podcasts. How could I reach more people in a smaller amount of time? Because in an hour on stage, I can reach 1,000 people. In an hour on a podcast, you can reach 10,000 or even 100,000 people. And so that's how my philosophy, as far as working on my own mental toughness and then spreading it to others, transition into really entrepreneurship, which I fell in love with. My dad was an entrepreneur at times, and had businesses that were successful and failed. And it was never something that I thought I would go into because we moved around a lot, needed financial security. I thought I need something safe. And again, my blueprint for success was doctor or lawyer. I'm an orthodontist. My sister's a lawyer. But what I found was through business and entrepreneurship that this is what I was made for. This is what I love to do. And so it started to come easier that way.
Yeah. That's definitely a unique background. And I love it too, because I think a lot of people listen to this podcast, they're growing up and they got the same blueprint of success as you had when you were growing up. And a lot of parents push that same blueprint because it's the safe route to go down. And they don't want kids to, take any unnecessary risk or have any financial shortfalls. But at the end of the day, like you mentioned, you're not really living life. And if you were, 26 at that job, like, man, is this it? And you're 26 years old, right? So
Right.
it's a bad mindset to really have at that age. But it's interesting, right? So you had that mole on your chest and you got that checked out, and that's really what transformed your story. So after you found out what was going on with your body, you said you turned to personal development. Did you quit cold turkey from being an orthodontist after you found out you had that
Uh,
mole on your chest, or how?
Yeah, I wish I could say I did, but like most of you, I got to work, man. I got to make money, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you hear people who jump all in, and some people have that privilege. either they have support or, they're able to live on somebody's floor or something like that. I had bills to pay, I had student loans. So I was not able to do that. In fact, I still run a business that's in orthodontics. I run a dental marketing company as well. So, I'm still part of it. It's something that, I went for more the business side, but to transition 100% as you get older and have more responsibilities, especially financially. When you're young, hey man, go for it. If you can sleep on a buddy's couch for 4 months while you're building your dream, do it. But for a lot of people, it's like you got bills to pay, you got to put food on the table. Now, especially I got kids now, right? I didn't back then, but I do now. And it's like you got to keep making money while you chase your dreams.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really unrealistic to kind of quit cold turkey, especially like you mentioned. You got obligations and responsibilities at this point. So
Yeah, if you're like 18 years old, and again, somebody's going to put you up though. Somebody's going to let you ride for free while you pursue your dreams. Because at the end of the day, if you had a car, well, how'd you buy the car? If people are like, I slept in my car. Well, you had a car, right? Like, how'd you get the car? So
yeah.
there's always somebody supporting them. But yeah, so I still kept working and I encourage that, right? Like there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of accomplishment, there's a sense of confidence that comes when you kept working and pursued your dreams. You did what you had to do and what it takes to become successful.
Yeah. Yeah. When your back's against the wall, that's when it's most challenging. You got to find some way to take that next step forward. And so, whatever that takes is really what you got to do. So you turned to personal development then. So what did you really get into the habit of doing? Was it reading? Was it more discipline working out on top of that? Or what was that, transformation like for you? The
Well, I
person.
had a lot of discipline working out from a physical perspective, but when
Yeah.
it came to, I read a couple hundred books over the course of the next year to 2 years. And I did some seminars, which of course help. They're like little boosters, but the minute people leave a seminar, they go back to their old selves, their old environment, their old friends, and nothing changes for them. But instead, every morning, what I did was I wake up and I'd start doing a series of exercises. A lot of times it was something very simple, right? I like to write a power action list. I either do it the night before or the morning of, and it's just three things that if you accomplish today or this week, you're going to change what you're going after. You're going to accomplish it faster. So it comes from the Pareto principle, which is essentially the 80-20 rule, if you've heard of that, right? Where 80% of your results, the way I use it, is 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. The way other people, you might have heard, it's a mathematician statistic, is, people wear 80% of the time, they wear 20% of their clothes, right? So 80% of your clothes are sitting in your closet. But when you look at your actions, some actions move the needle. Most action, people are too busy being busy as opposed to taking action. And so I look, what are the three things that I can do today that are going to move me closer to my goal significantly? And a lot of times, if I do those three things, what ends up happening is that the other stuff just kind of falls into place. The other thing is I like to move. I talk a lot about mental toughness. I talk a lot about emotional fitness
Yeah.
and the way we perceive the outside world is this. Something happens to you, you immediately choose what to focus on. Somebody comes in and they yell at you, "Hey, what are you doing?" You could either be like, you could yell back at them, right? You could be angry. You could be, "Hey, what do you mean? What's going on?" Right? They could be yelling at you, "What are you doing?" Because there's a fire outside. You got to get out of this office. We got to run.
Right.
So what we choose to focus on can change then the meaning of what we give it. Once we give it a meaning, we either have a reaction or we consciously choose to take an action. So I could have a reaction like, "Hey, what are you yelling at me for?" Or I can say, "Hey, is everything okay? Like, what's going on? Let me reassess the situation." This is how we process what comes in from the outside world into our internal world. That's one of the pillars of emotional fitness. And when you come to mental toughness, though, what most people think is I have to change my mind to then change my actions. But it's a two-way street. If you change your actions, it will slowly change your mind. What I mean by that is if you go for a run and you get the endorphins pumping, or you go work out and you get your body moving, the blood flowing, you feel good. Now, all of a sudden, your mindset, you actually will ask better questions. So sometimes people go, "Oh, why can't I ever be successful? Or why can't I get more sales? Or why can't I make more money?" Well, these are not empowering questions. Something that would be a better question is, how can I make more money? Or something would say, like, what can I do right now that's going to bring more money in? Right now, all of a sudden, your brain starts to search for better answers. But sometimes when you're mentally in a funk, you can't get those questions out because you're not in the right mindset. Something very easy to do: go for a run, go for a full on sprint. No one's sad or upset when they're in a full on sprint. They're just trying to breathe. And that's the difference between what some people think they're doing and what you need to do.
Mm. That's powerful. Just a lot of people get caught up in that busy work cycle, to your point, and not actually do income producing activities, which I think is a pretty cool way to start your day. Like you were talking about, three things that can really move that needle. Um, so it's interesting. You said you read a couple hundred books and literally like the next year or two, which is awesome. And that's like a book a day. So that's it's not easy to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, Audible was really popular. I did read physical books. I love physical books too. But I would crush Audible. So I put that on 2x. You know, I could listen to a book a day almost. Now, how much do you really get from it then? You know, I kept going if I could get one thing from these books. Because after you read, 40, 50 books, you start to realize that there's some common themes. And a lot of people talk about mindset because what is one thing that we all have the same of? Time. Everybody's got the same amount of time, but some people are massively more successful than others. And people are like, I don't have the time to work out. Well, you don't, everybody's got the same amount of time. You got to make the time. If you
Mhm.
want to pursue your dreams, if you want to go after your goals, what's one thing you could do for an hour every single day for the next 30 days? Make the time, commit to it, be disciplined, do it when you don't want to do it, and then you will see some results.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have any tips or strategies to help people really take what they're learning and actually implement it? Because like you said earlier, a lot of people are reading these books, they're taking on all this kind of information, but they're not actually implementing anything into their day. And they seem to just be in this repetitive cycle of just fog of just consuming information, not doing anything with it, consuming more information, not doing anything with it, and then jump on Instagram, you see 10 different reels of guys saying this of separate things. Do you have any tips or strategies of how to just lock in on some of the?
Yeah, stop scrolling. But I will say this: sometimes what people they love to consume, but if you want to be successful, especially as an entrepreneur, you've got to produce. You've got to build something. So at some point, you have to stop consuming. And the easiest way to do that is the minute you read something where you think, in my book, Emotional Fitness, this is like all I talk about is action oriented results because the only thing that matter in life are the results. Then you can measure whether you were successful or you failed. So the minute you read something, say one thing in my book I talk about is power posing. And it's this idea of how to get yourself out of a funk by physically changing your posture. Amy Cuddy, who's a Harvard psychologist, did a research study. In 2 minutes a day, you can raise your testosterone, you can decrease cortisol or the stress hormone, and you're a third more likely to go after your goals. And
Wow.
it's like standing like think of Superman standing with his hands on his hips, chest out, shoulders back, chin up, looking straight ahead. Just do that for 2 minutes. I mean, even when I just posture myself up a little bit more like that, even though I'm sitting down right now, I
Yeah.
feel more empowered. By doing that 2 minutes a day, now you change what you're doing. So you might read that and go, oh, that sounds interesting. No, no, no. Do it right then and there. Momentum matters.
Yeah.
The minute you think you should do something, go do it. And what happens is as you build on that momentum, you start to accomplish more.
Mhm. Yeah. And momentum matters and consistency matters, right? As well. So it's important to have these cycles, these routines you can stick to. So on that note, I'm curious, do you have like your morning routine that you do that you think is replicatable for other people listening?
Yeah, I mean, I got a 4 month old son right now, and he's my second kid. So sleep's not really what we do. But one
Yeah.
thing that my wife and I, even with a 4 month old, even with lack of sleep, is we wake up and, like I said, move. So we wake up and we make an effort to go to the gym. So immediately I don't even think about it, right? I wake up, I put my gym clothes on. By the time I realize it, I'm driving to the gym and I'm working out, right? So I like to do that. I like to go into the sauna. Some people like to meditate. I've never really been somebody who could just sit there and be still for an hour or something like that. I find moments of meditation. One of those moments is the sauna. I spend about 15 to 20 minutes in there. I love it because it's healthy for you, detox. It's a stressor, so it also boosts your immune system. And then it's kind of like this moment where I'm just sitting there peacefully thinking about what I'm going to do that day, reflecting on the day before, gathering my thoughts. And what I'll do after that is, especially if I have, this moment of insight, is I'll start to write that down into a journal. I'm not huge on journaling necessarily in my life, although I find a lot of value in writing things down. So I'll kind of write down what's going on, and then when I talk about that power action list, one thing I will say is that especially with technology, everybody puts things in their phones. I don't know about you guys, but if I put something in my phone, sometimes I forget it. Where was that note? Now with search you can find it, but there is power, and this is anecdotal. Although they do say if you write down your goals, you're 40% more likely to accomplish them. But I find that physically writing goals down on a piece of paper with a pen creates some sort of permanence for me. So I'll write down my power action list. I'll write down my goals. And what's crazy is I'll put that paper aside and I'll keep it there. I'll check it every month or so. There's certain goals that are really big and I check it daily and weekly. But sometimes I'll find a piece of paper that I kind of wrote down off to the side about goals and I'll be like, wow, check, check, check. Accomplished all three. So that's kind of my morning routine. It primes me for the day. Sometimes it's just that simple, really. I mean, and then you're off to the races. You wrote down the three things you want to accomplish for the day, and now you got your day planned. Commit to it. Keep a schedule, right? Some people don't schedule time for themselves. I think that's the hardest thing. When we talk about making time, you got to schedule it. So, I mean, this morning I was at the gym uh, from 4 to 6. So from four, or I didn't from like 4:30 to 5:45, but I was up at 4 and then got home at 6.
Right. Right. Now, for those listening, what happens if one day, someone doesn't do the morning routine as they're supposed to, right? How important is it to be so like loving to yourself and kind words to yourself, and what do you say to yourself just to get back at it like the following day, right? Because I think a lot of people they miss one day and then it's like boom, done. How do you overcome?
Look, I'm
It can be
not, I'm
perfect.
not, I'm not the guy who's like, I don't watch Netflix if I'm trying to build an empire. But at the same time, if I want to relax on a Saturday with my wife and she wants to watch Netflix and I want to watch a movie, we're going to watch it, right?
Yeah.
It's not to say that you can't ever have an off day, but what do you consistently do? Do you consistently wake up at 4 or is it once a week you do that? Because what will happen is most people are lying to themselves. Like all the time, people, I work out, I put the time in. Well, are you committed to do it for a year? Maybe, probably not. You'll quit after a couple of days. Are you disciplined? Do you go when you don't want to? And then how intensely do you approach that? Right. So some people show up, especially if you're trying to learn a new skill or you're trying to grow a business, people show up and they half ass it. Well, you're not going to get the results you want if you're not going all in. So I think there is that consistency. But if you have an off day, hey, it's okay. We all have off days, everybody.
Right.
But what you do the next day, that's what determines what happens and that's what determines your future. If you have an off day for 35 days in a row, well, now you're just off, right? And you got to get back on.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's important to, be kind to yourself and not have two off days in a row, right? Next day, get after it.
Well,
So
I mean, like, some like I like to watch football. I'm super excited about NFL being back on. And it's something that I've always loved. I played football in high school and I like watching it. And uh on Sundays, it's not I might go to the gym. I don't have to, you know. Sometimes I get to, sometimes I don't. But it's okay to take days off. But if you look at my track record over the last 10 years, I'm just relentless. Because I've never thought that I was going to be the smartest. I was never the biggest. I was never the fastest, but I have to outwork everybody to be successful. So, I mean, even I say sometimes I'll take the day off. Last Sunday I was at the gym, right? Because it primes me. It sets me up for success in anything I'm doing.
yeah. Yeah. And to your point, it just helps your energy levels overall, which makes you have a better day.
Look, energy is contagious, right? So if I came to you and on this podcast and I was like, "Yeah, Will, man, this is cool, right? What do I do? I don't know. I do some things in the morning, right? It's boring. Nobody wants to listen to that,
Yeah.
right? But what I do and what I help other people do, is I help people learn to speak to scale their companies, to scale their businesses, right? I was able to build a brand, interview guys like Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory, Bedros Keuilian from Fit Body Bootcamp, Monty Moran, who was a former CEO of Chipotle, helped it grow to a $30 billion company. And you learn certain things from them, and you realize that if you're the CEO of your company, you got to always be selling, right? You got to be selling to everybody you meet. You got to be telling everybody what you're doing. But if you don't know how to package that story, if you don't know how to create something that's going to be go viral, that people are going to want to listen to, that really presents your story in a compact, easy way to help you scale, you're not going to grow. And unfortunately, you could have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you don't have a business.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs just have no idea to how to build their online presence, build their personal brand, which is so crucial to getting your voice out there. So what are some of the main ways that you help these leaders kind of embrace their voice and really get their message out there? Is it really just start a podcast, start posting as much as you can across all social media platforms, or what are you telling these people?
I mean, look, like, yeah, first thing, you can get started doing anything nowadays just with your cell phone, right? So obviously telling your friends about it, telling people on social media. But one of the best things that I found is you want to really start with who you are and what your story is, right? You got to be clear on your goals. You got to be clear on your story. And that's we kind of created this little program, just super easy. It's a 5-hour course where it's called Speak to Scale, right? So you want to be able to kind of grow your brand through speaking, because whether you're on a podcast, you don't have to be on a stage to speak nowadays. You could be on a podcast, but really you could be on your social media just filming yourself. Hey guys, what's going on? Corey here. We're growing Unleash Success. Go check out my YouTube channel. Just did an interview with Bedros. Super awesome, right? That simple video has to tell a story that people want to listen to then click on that link that you send them to then grow your brand. If you're not doing these things, your brand's not growing, right? So, what I've found is that, and I'm not like I've grown a brand just by being me, but I have other people help me with that process. What I found is that you have to speak truth to your story. You have to be concise. You have to be clear. And there's just a framework that I developed where it's like, hey, look, like this is what I did as I interviewed all these millionaire and even billionaire entrepreneurs. I was like, okay, well, clearly they've got this story arc. They've got this insight. They show up in a certain way with a certain mentality and a certain system that helps spread their message to the masses. And so that's kind of what we basically developed. I mean, I have a lot of I get people on my podcast sometimes and they ramble and I'm like, what are we even talking about? All I heard was go to my course. I'm like, did you tell them to anything of value? And I mean, of course, I have something like that. I have a course, I've got a book. That's part of being an online entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, like, I hope that anybody listening to this is like, oh, yeah, I got to do that. I got to wake up and do a power action list. I got to wake up and go work out. I got to commit to my goal for an hour a day for the next 30 days to see if I'm committed, to see if what I can accomplish, right? Certain habits, or I'm going to do a power pose. Like, I hope that somebody got something from this
Right.
other than just go to the course.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's I think you definitely provided a lot of value so far, and the power pose is definitely one good takeaway that people can start implementing. So definitely shared a lot of value there. But obviously you've grown your brand so much, and you said you've fully accomplished your part of your dream by getting your dream beach house. So I guess going for you, I mean, how are your goals shifting the next few years, and what are you trying to accomplish or get to next few? What are you trying to build?
Well, I've got a couple different businesses, but specifically with Unleash Success and just the personal brand, there's so much garbage out there that I really want to grow the brand more because look, I'm older now. I'm getting older, I should say. I'll be 40 next year, and I think just having kids. And I always knew this would happen, but having kids, I see that the world needs leaders. I've always thought that the world needs more leaders,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize that I'd have to step up and be the voice of that leadership and really step in because if we don't influence as leaders, you and I influence the people around us, somebody else will. And unfortunately, people are full of shit. They spout garbage. They talk about, whatever systems they're doing. And you see these influencers online that, look, man, I could tell off of 1 minute they're not self made, right? And so you look at this and you say, okay, who's going to step up? And at the end of the day, I feel like it's my duty, especially having a son. I want to make sure he's a strong man. I want to make sure he's a good man and that he himself is a leader. And so I think that that's one of the most important things for me going forward. Yeah, I want numbers. Of course, we all want to make good money. We all want the freedom and nice stuff. But there's only so many nice dinners you can go have. There's only so many nice vacations you can do. So what I hope to do is to build leaders out of men, to build them into strong men so that they can go forward in the future, build great businesses, uh, influence other people in a positive way, and continue to make the world a better place. Because at the end of the day, I got to live in it. My kids got to grow up in it. And there's some crazy stuff going on right now, and people are looking for a voice to listen to. And unfortunately, there's just a lot of people that will take advantage of that. And so that, I see that more and more these days. And one of the reasons that I'm trying to step up and do more podcasts myself.
I think that's awesome. To your point, the world definitely does need leaders, especially with everything going on recently. But with that said, before I hop off, is there anything else that you'd like to say? And if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to contact you or find you?
Definitely, you can reach out on YouTube or Instagram at Corey Corpodian. We also, if you're interested in either the book or any course or any of the freebies that we offer, recently we shifted over to Stan Store, so stan.store/Corey Corpodian. You can go there and check that out, and that'll just kind of give you kind of the entrance and little things we offer for free as well as some paid stuff as well.
All right, guys, there you have it. Go check them out. Corey Corpodian, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it, man.